Speaking of this, I suddenly recollect a saying by Sir Winston Churchill. He said that leadership is not only about what it takes to stand up and speak, but it's also about what it takes to sit down and listen. So that's a little bit of trivia there.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to yet another one-on-one session with Seekho. Seekho is a video-first micro-learning based community wherein you can learn just about anything you want in a minute. In short, it's a world where knowledge meets seekers, where craft meets creation. Abhisek Mondal is here with us today. He is Senior Specialist of Operational Excellence at Amazon. His experience in the domain has been remarkable with a great deal of knowledge as well as expertise. So, Abhishek, we would love it if you could take out a minute and just introduce yourself.
Well, thanks, Sidi. First of all, thank you for inviting me for this session today. And I truly believe that Seekho is doing a wonderful job in conducting these sessions for various aspirants. Having said so, I myself aspire to learn so many more things. And, as a learner, I'll also check Seekho in future as well. Well, in short, I best describe myself as a civil engineer who has transitioned to analytics and is falling in love with data with each passing day. I have around 10 years of experience in the project management practice, having worked in both waterfall and agile methodologies across varied industries. The journey so far has been really cool and enriching. I started my career with real estate or construction sector, which is predominantly considered to be a blue collar, industry where you are exposed to a plethora of risks and numerous stakeholders. I still remember a joke that we used to crack when I was in real estate. It's construction is considered to be a cradle for Murphy's law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That is where, however, I found my likeness, towards the use of data in IoT or the Internet of Things that we were exploring to achieve environmental sustainability in those days. While exploring this newfound, fondness, I found a need to pursue my MBA to understand how technologies, can be incorporated in projects to achieve a, sustainable competitive advantage. And post my MBA from IIM Lucknow, I was, fortunate to explore analytics domain in edtech space. And now, as you have said, I am working with Amazon in the innovation and analytics delivery space in the ops excellence profile. And I won't say I'm an expert, because if I say so, that would mean that, I've stopped learning. But I would say that I'm a passionate enthusiast, to begin with.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. You really have a very versatile and a dynamic journey.
Thank you. I guess.
Okay, so to begin, let's do a quick and crisp rapid fire round before we head on to the actual discussion round, simply to make it more exciting and intriguing and so people can get to know you better personally. So, are you ready?
Yes, sure. Not ready, but yeah, I'll give it a go. Yeah.
Okay. So, the first one is any movie or TV series that you'd recommend to watch?
The Chosen, it's the 2 seasons are out. Desperately waiting for the third season. Amazing, TV series. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. One secret in your professional life that has always worked for you.
Taking risks. I strongly believe in taking risks. There are certain things that I'm really afraid of, but I approach those things that I'm really afraid of. Heads on. Yeah.
That's nice, very nice. Okay, the next one is the next big thing planned in your career ahead.
To proceed ahead in Amazon, to prosper in Amazon, and there are a lot of technologies that are coming in Amazon right now. It's just the big place to be, and I'm definitely looking forward to prosper here.
Perfect. The next one is your favorite personality in the corporate world that you would love to get tips from.
Well, there are many actually. I don't know who to mention, but I would say in India, I would say Anand Mahindra. He's an absolute corporate figure. A person that I look up to. And if you talk about in abroad, I would say Jeff Bezos. Who else? Because I really like his vision, the leadership principles of Amazon. Absolutely fabulous.
Okay. The last one is describe yourself in 3 words.
Well, passionate. Someone who is always very hardworking, passionate, and spiritual.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it was a superb round, and without any further ado, let's go on and begin the discussion. Are you all
Sure.
set?
Sure. Yes, of
Oh.
course.
So the first one is what is data analytics?
Oh well, Siddhi, you have just addressed the elephant in the room because the more people I talk to nowadays, everyone is talking about data analytics. Is the next cool thing to be, right? So why do let's start from this, right? Why do businesses undertake projects, right? So businesses undertake projects to scale up and build assets, right? In doing so, they generate a lot of data, literally all sorts of data, and lots of it, right? In fact, the world that we live in today is creating a constant, ever increasing stream of data. And data analytics is just the art of analyzing this raw data to make conclusion about the information contained in it. There are several techniques and tools that can be used to perform this analysis, and most of these are automated. And these tools work on raw data. By raw data, you can refer to both structured and unstructured data to generate interesting trends and outcomes. And for most organizations, the amount of data that is being generated is increasing at a rate of around 40% annually. So let me repeat that: increasing at a rate of around 40% annually. That's a huge amount. In simple terms, data analytics help businesses optimize their performance.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so let's go on and move on to the next question. Here it goes. What are the best tools used for data analysis?
Well, that would basically depend upon the type of data analysis, the type of data analysis and the analytics domain that we are referring to here. So let me answer this question by breaking it down into five main analytic approaches that we follow in the analytics industry, right? Very well known in the analytics industry. The first one being a descriptive analytics, right? Which help you to understand the current status quo in an organization. What has happened, and what has happened in the past, what is happening today. Say, studying existing sales pattern, or say customer behavior, or say profitability, etc. Or we are attempting to segment the customers to identify opportunities to increase the top line. you know uh, Simple box plots or plotting quartiles or deciles, etc., work wonders here. Then the second approach would be diagnostic approach, which deals with why it has happened, right? What were the reasons or the drivers for it? Some common approaches might be a decision tree analysis to understand the probable cause and the associated probabilities with each of these causes. Now, the tools that are generally used for descriptive and diagnostic analytics are, SQL, or say Hadoop, or data visualization tools that we know of. Very common ones, say Power BI or Tableau, or R or Python, etc. So these are the very common ones. Talking about the third type of analytic approach is the predictive analytics, which is very forward looking, right? So what can happen, what can likely happen in the future, what the customers or competitors are likely to do, etc. Then we have prescriptive analytics. So prescriptive analytics not only gives a forward looking approach, but it actually extends to taking decisions. It provides answers to what steps to be taken to achieve the desired outcome. We also consider the best possible action, considering the uncertainties involved, because there are a lot of uncertainties involved in these approaches. You have to know that. The examples include, maybe the example of the tools may include something, mathematical tools which help in, simulation and scenario planning capabilities. Tools such as SAS or R or Python or Segurobi, or Stella, or say ML tools, the libraries like Scikit, we have TensorFlow, we have NLP tools like NLTK, etc. And the last one is the adaptive and autonomous analytics. This is still in very infant stage right now, and it's very nascent, and I would say this is where the system builds a real world model that learns from the environment and continuously adapts to it. But we are yet to see development in this approach, and we personally don't know of many organizations who are implementing adaptive and autonomous analytics.
All right, it sounds so intriguing, and I feel like it's a very structured and a very precise structure.
Yeah, true, very, very true.
Okay, okay, okay. So let's move on and discuss a little about project management and how data analysis can be leveraged in this practice.
Right. Yes. So is this your question? How data analytics can be leveraged? Yeah. So
No. Let me
let
start. Okay.
okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin with the 5 phases of project management.
Right. So the 5 phases of project management. This is a very interesting question. Let me put this in a on a generic level, basically. So for a traditional waterfall project, say the phases are the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and then closing. So the flow basically starts from initiating, right, where the broad level scope is defined, where the project charter is created, the project manager is assigned, and the high level risks are identified. Uh, then we have planning, where the project plans are prepared. You have schedules, you have resource deployment plans, you have quality, you have risk management plans, you have stakeholder management plans, and so on, right? So, and then we have executing. There's the third phase where the work actually starts on the field. Deliverables start rolling out, risks get mitigated. You deal with stakeholders day in and day out. You learn about stakeholder management. You actually practice that on the field. The fourth one is monitoring and controlling, where we monitor and keep a track on how we are performing with respect to our plans, and in case of any change requests or deviations, right, that come our way, we may go for a progressive elaboration depending on the nature of the project, of course. And finally we come to closing, where after the validation and sign off from the customer, we close the project, we document the lessons learned. This is again at a very generic level, mostly industry agnostic, right? But if I were to take the example of a specific industry, say in the software development world, these phases have been slightly modified to requirement gathering, say design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. Each of these phases has a well-defined, phase exits, where the transition takes place from one phase to the other. However, sometimes, at least for certain development projects, the phase exits points start getting blurred if the scope is not very well defined, and this happens primarily when we try to implement a waterfall model forcefully in a complex scenario, which maybe where maybe an agile solution might work best. And I strongly believe that if identifying a scope becomes more of a probe, sense, respond mechanism rather than a sense, categorize, and then respond mechanism, it's always best to go for an agile methodology.
Okay, that sounds very good. That sounds good. So it's basically a very flexible method, right? It can be molded according to the requirements.
Yes, absolutely. This can be molded as per the requirement, and although we have a broad structure, but the industries keep on molding it as per their requirement as well. Yes, so you're very right in saying so.
Right. Okay, perfect. So let's move on to the next one. Okay. So, what are the popular tools and strategies that a project manager must use?
Well, more than anything, I think a project manager needs to be great in terms of communication. On a general level, the project manager spends more than 90% of his time communicating in a project. And this is not me saying that, this is actually as per the PM text. And hence, communication becomes a critical success factor in this role. So I have also personally witnessed it. I have worked as a project manager. I have seen people working as a project manager, and they spend a lot of time in their role, communicating with people. So this is one thing that calls for another important skill, that is leadership. It's one of the most underestimated skill, and everyone nowadays is a leader. As speaking of a leader, we refer to someone who is authoritarian or say over assertive or leads a team of people. There's a lot of people the person is leading, but in reality, a great leader, if you ask me, needs to be a great listener as well, and should not practice a similar leadership principle uniformly across his team, because what motivates me might not motivate you. And so it's important for the leader is to understand the aspiration of each team member and try to best suffice that, right? Ideally, I would say the best form of leadership would be a charismatic servant leadership. And although many people confuse this servant leadership with a laissez-faire, form of leadership, but unlike a laissez-faire approach, the servant leadership refers to listening to the team members, who carry a ton of experience themselves. You are recruiting, a lot of people in the team, and you have to actually listen to them in order to move forward. They might help you to identify risks that you might not have thought can happen. So, understanding the suggestion of the team members is something that is also very crucial here. And then deciding the way forward. Speaking of this, I suddenly recollect a saying by Sir Winston Churchill. He said that, leadership is not only about what it takes to stand up and speak, but it's also about what it takes to sit down and listen. So, that's a little bit of trivia there. But coming to the tools and technologies, well, there are a plethora of those available in the PM practice, the project management practice. You have MS projects, Primavera for, traditional waterfall approaches. If you speak of, say, agile approaches, you have Jira, you have Confluence, you have Trello, you have Asana, and so on. There are a lot of things, a lot of tools that are, coming into practice nowadays. But the only strategy, since you have asked me about strategy, the only strategy I would say should be to build a team based on sound leadership, skills, and then let the team, select the best suited technology that, or tools or a package that is more apt in their case.
Perfect. That's actually perfect. Even I believe that for anything to excel, the team should combine, unite and work as a team and not individually.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's actually generic for everything right here.
Yes.
Right. So moving on, the next one is, how is big data used in project management?
Well, this is a very pertinent question in today's VUCA world, where big data is a key driving force in business. Before we proceed any further, let's try to understand what makes data big, right? In simple terms, my attempt would be to take the fizz out of the big data word buzz that we keep on hearing around us. Well, there are 5 V's that are associated with data in order for us to categorize it as big data. The first volume, there are 5 V's, right? So the first V would be volume. You actually measure the enormity of it. How enormous is the data? Then you have velocity, the processing speed, the speed at which the data is processed. You have variety, whether the data is structured or unstructured. That's very important to know. Then you have veracity, right? So veracity refers to the quality of the data that you are dealing with. And then the value. So value is basically the bottom line that we plan to derive from such huge volume of data, right? In project management, big data can be used for superior decision making, from managing schedules, to resource allocation, to risk mitigation, and so on. the benefits of using the big data, are humongous. It's unimaginable, right? It helps in reducing project costs through accurate, forecasting trends. It helps in resource planning, allocation, and all these things can be made more efficient. You have process optimization needs to optimize, cost and improve deliverables that can be, seen from here. And of course, it helps in better risk identification, mitigation, and planning for contingency reserves, using simulation exercises. So these are the things that we know of today, but I won't be surprised if I wake up from my sleep tomorrow and some other benefits come out, because the extent at which the we are producing data, it's unimaginable. Just to give you a context, I recently read somewhere that in 2020, the data has grown to almost 44 to 45 times than what it was in 2009. And we are yet to see what more benefits we can get out of it. So yeah.
Okay, that's very amazing, I must say. It's practically the backbone of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, okay. So, to move on, the next one is, what are the junctures of analytics and how does it align with the project?
Right. So this is indeed again a very good question. Let me try to create a map between analytics and the project management practice in the real world. Speaking about the junctures, there are mainly four junctures to an analytical approach in terms of how it is implemented in a project. The first one is discovery phase. The second one is insights. Third one being actions, and the fourth one being outcomes. Right. Actually, we start from outcomes and then go to discovery, but nevertheless, let me explain this in the order I have just told you. Discovery is where you define the problem. You develop a hypothesis. You finally collect and explore the data, right? Insights is where you look at analyzing data through a descriptive approach. What has happened so far? What has happened in the past? And then there's a diagnostic approach where you have you try to understand why it has happened so. Then what can be done to improve the situation? This is where we decide on the right data that needs to be captured. Where will it be stored? Whether you are going to deploy a cloud solution or you're going to deploy it on an on-prem, or will that be a hybrid model? To what percentage it will be hybrid or cloud solution, cloud deployment, selection of a cloud solution for that matter. Is the data structured or unstructured? And obviously, when you are dealing with so much of data, there's a lot of security requirements that go along with it that you also have to take care. Then coming to the third juncture, it would be, say, actions. This is where you link insights to actionable recommendation, and you create an execution plan. This is very similar to the planning phase that we discussed right now in the other question, right? So this is the action juncture. And finally, we come to outcomes. We review the outcomes that have transformed the business, and try to get data or validated reports out of it. So in real world, the practice is like we start from the business outcomes and work backwards, right, to define the problem that we are looking to solve, and the metrics that we need to capture. These are the quintessential parts of the discovery phase. So this is where we start from, right? So we study the business as it is today, and then we try to understand what has been happening here. Why things are happening the way they are happening. Then we try to capture the metrics that we can measure, and then we decide on the data that needs to be captured. Then we take call on what kind of data we need, where we store it, how we analyze it. And then we go to the actions where we link the insights to actionable recommendations, and finally we get the necessary outcomes after we have followed the approach. So these are the junctures.
Okay, so it basically defines each and everything in here.
Right. Absolutely.
I was saying it's actually very new to me here because I've never been in this field.
Oh, right. Yes, yes. So, it's not only new to you, I would say, it's new to everyone, including myself. When I transitioned to data analytics, as I said, in my introduction, right, I'm falling in love with data with each passing day. So it amuses me more than anything else. So definitely, it's all new. And believe me, to the best of the practitioners in the field, this is very new. It's not only you, right? So people say people are when I was defining the tools of data analytics, I said the final one, right, the autonomous one, right, analytics, right. So it's still in the very nascent stage right now, and there are a lot of people who are working to get meaning out of it. So yeah, it's all very new to everyone, so don't worry.
Okay, okay. That's good then. Okay, so moving on, how does effective data analysis improve project management?
Well, in order to answer this, I will start by a famous quote by Peter Drucker, the management guru himself. He had once said that what gets measured gets managed. If you don't know what you want to manage, how if you don't measure what you want to manage, how are you going to manage it? It's as simple as that, right? And project management is no different. Any project generates all sorts of data throughout its life cycle. The question, however, is how we are capturing those and making sense out of it. Project based data with analytics can enable project managers and executives to measure, observe, and analyze project performance objectively and make decisions and commitments based on facts. One of the best cases here would be using data to capture projections and early signals, better manage the budget, stakeholders, outcomes, and overall client expectations. That is why project management as a practice focus so much on documenting the lessons learned. Now, from my past experiences or the people I have dealt with, let me tell you, documenting lessons learned practically is considered one of the most boring part of project management, because people are so reluctant to document, do the documentation part, right? Who wants to come back after a phase has ended or the project has ended and actually document the lessons learned? So, but let me tell you, that's an absolutely fantastic source to begin with, for analyzing the data from past projects that have similar nature. At least some parts of it may be similar. Personally, I would say I have seen some companies that although generate a lot of data, they don't know what to do with those, right? I have seen that upon identifying the trends that are generated from past projects, similar patterns in schedule delays or say cost overruns or inventory turnovers, working capital needs, etc., gets identified. You practically don't need a tool like Python or R every time you want to understand these trends. A simple Excel file can do the trick if you know how to use it. So, so I would say in a nutshell, the data analysis can really prove to be very helpful in improving project management if you really use it prudently. So yeah, that's for an answer, I guess.
Okay, okay. So just be an expert in this and you can excel like anything, I
Of course,
believe.
of course. Yes, of course.
Okay, okay, perfect. Okay, so moving on, the next one is how can a professional unlock the value of data using analytics in a project?
Well, there are a plethora of opportunities actually, and if I explain in details, this can go on for hours, and this session would not be sufficient, right? But even then, let me try to answer this in the most appropriate way. With each passing day, we are exploring what different possibilities can analytics create in a project, right? Uh, and But the simplest way to harness the value of data using analytics is to create a visual dashboard with the data available. If you have the data available, try to create a visual dashboard with the data. Believe me, this is not as simple as it sounds. We see a dashboard and we just see the numbers, the colors and everything, and we see, oh, this is super easy. That's not how it is. A lot goes behind creating the data models and building the ERD models, the calculated fields, the measures that produce a strong visual. Often in a project, I have seen the data is very, very scattered. There are lots of data, but people don't know actually what to do with it, right? It's there somewhere in someone's drive. It's somewhere inaccessible to some teams in the cloud. So people don't know how to bring it all together and make some meaningful visualizations out of it. So if I'm an analyst, my aim should be to make life easier for my project head, or the person who is driving the project, who needs to take decision with the snap of a finger. And that is where visual tools such as Power BI or QuickSight or Tableau might be useful. Data analytics doesn't always mean to deploy an ML model with complex algorithms. That's a very famous thing that people believe. You go for analytics, you are just deploying an ML model, and that will solve all your problems. That's not always the case. An ML model might not be required in certain situations. If someone is really interested in starting in this field, creating a simple thing, as simple as a visual dashboard, is the ideal place to start. Creating the visual is the easy part, believe me, but the ETL process, the manipulation, the modeling of the data are the key challenges that are involved here, right? And believe me, this is super fun, although very taxing, but yes, this is very super fun.
Yeah. So, do you think that data analysts benefit from project management techniques? Like, how can they benefit from it?
Right. So, I would say a lot. I would say, right. So, I've met great analysts. If you ask me how a data analyst benefit from project management techniques, there's unlimited. Sky is the limit, I would say. Right. I have met great analysts who are not good enough in the understanding of the project management practice. Right. So that's a limitation there. We undermine project management a lot, unfortunately, and inherently promote a good performer to the post of a project manager, which is actually an anomaly, right? That management texts refer to as a halo effect. So if I am good in something, you cannot expect me to be good in everything altogether, right? On a generic level. That's unfortunately what is happening nowadays. Just because someone is a good analyst doesn't mean that that person would be a good project manager, or would understand project management in overall perspective. Understanding of the nuances in project management is a key for absolutely anyone, be it analyst or be it absolutely anyone. Unless an analyst knows which stages he should measure the data, say the phase exits we talked about, right? Or say before or after deployment, or maybe in the UAT stage, how can he gather the right data, right? Let alone analyzing it. So analyzing would come after that. So if you don't know when to gather the data, how are you going to gather the right data? And then what is your analysis going to be? It's all going to go haywire, right? So just to give you an example, in a waterfall setup, say we have a positive SPI, CPI, but a bad inventory turnover, accompanied by a bad cash conversion cycle. What data to analyze then? If I ask you this question, right? So as an analyst, this is very important to know. Or say if in a more familiar agile setup, an analyst doesn't understand the type of modifications in data that might be necessary after, say, a backlog grooming session, or say a sprint retrospective session, a sprint planning session. He or she needs to wait for someone to approach him and then go through the last minute rush of putting everything together and come up with an analysis. So this is not a very good scenario. You see an analyst and you expect him to be a proactive person, coming up with the recommendations, doing the analysis, understanding what data to measure, when to measure it, and what to make out of it, right? So an understanding of the project management helps an analyst in knowing not only what data to capture, but more importantly, when to capture and refine as per the project needs. So, in terms of the benefits, an analyst can definitely benefit a lot from project management techniques, I would say.
Okay, that's very fascinating, actually. Okay, so
Absolutely,
that would be
it's
the right, right. That's
the
actually very fascinating.
Yeah, very fascinating. Very fascinating. True.
Okay, perfect. So that would be the concluding part of this session. And this session was amazing. Like how easily and how flexible you were, that made it so amazing. And your precision was actually the cherry on top. So thank you
Thank you.
again for taking time out of your schedule to take us Ego one-on-one session today.
Thank you, Siti. The pleasure is all mine. And again, a lot of I would like to appreciate Seekho, for the wonderful job, in conducting these sessions. It I hope this, benefits some of the aspirants who watch this video.
Definitely. Definitely. Many aspirants will look up to this one.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so people, the session has come to an end, and that's it for this one. But don't worry because we'll be back with another thought leader with another incredible session. So take care, and I'll see you at the next session. Bye bye.